Chevra, how are you? Today is Yud Zayin Adar Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Sisa, which is also going to be Parshas Purim. We're still living with the aftermath in the days that follow Purim. We should all be still drunk, figuratively speaking, from the spiritual infusion which we received during Purim. So one obvious thing which we will discuss today is the connection between the Parsha Shavua and Purim. There's an amazing direct connection. And B'Hashgacha Pratis, it's directly related to what we spoke last week, Mamish. So, before we start, we'll start with a prayer, which is going to be the focus of today's entire talk, which is going to be a thought for the week. For the week, Parshas Sisa, but also connected to the holiday Purim. I don't know if I mentioned, I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilach, begashmish v'ruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. So we're going to start with the prayer, and this is a prayer which we say every single Matzah Shabbos during Havdalah. La Yudem, hoi so oira, v'simcha, v'sosim v'kar, that the Jews had light, the Jews were happy, and they were joyous, and they had glory. So this is a pasuk we say in the Megillah, and we say it every single Matzah Shabbos by Havdalah. I just thought this second, the reason maybe why we say it by Havdalah, I just realized. We'll soon get to there. But first, I hope I don't forget, but first, what does this pasuk mean? So this pasuk is a pasuk in the Megillah, and we say it in the Megillah, and the Mefarshim explain that these four Oira, Simcha, Sasa, Vikar, describing the state of the Jews when they became happy again, the Gemara is based on a Gemara which says Oira zu Torah. The word Oira means the learning of Torah. Simcha ze Yontif, that refers to Yom Tovim, holidays, Jewish holidays. Sasain ze Milah, it refers to circumcision, the mitzvah of Milah. Vikar ze Tefillin. And the Gemara brings a pasuk which is connected to all of these mitzvahs, and how we see from the psukim like Ner mitzvah v'Torah oir, so we see that Torah is oir, light. And the same thing with all of these other four, Simcha, Sasa, Vikar, the psukim that show how it's Yontif, Simcha, and how Sasa is Milah, and Vikar is Tefillin. So I think the Mashar explains that Haman made decrees against these mitzvahs in particular, and after we had our salvation, we were proclaiming our gratitude and joy that all these mitzvahs are back. And what makes these mitzvahs different than other mitzvahs? So I think it's also the Mashar that says that these mitzvahs are all oisis, signs that show on how Jews are different. Through our learning Torah, through that we have Yom Tovim, and we circumcise, and we put on tefillin. So here comes the obvious question. Why is it that it's dafka these four things that bring out our difference? You could argue and you could say that, on the contrary, Eira zu Torah, first of all, Goyim also learn Torah. I think it's the North Koreans or the South Koreans, I forgot already, the ones that want to study the Talmud. Everyone looks at the Talmud as Kihi Chachmaschem V'Vinaschem Leini Ha'amim. The whole world realizes how the source of much of the world's wisdom comes from the Torah and the Talmud, etc. Simcha, Zu Yontif, so the Goyim have Yom Tovim. They also celebrate holidays. Sasas and Milah, we have Goyim that also circumcise themselves. It's healthy. For example, the Muslims, whatever, there's other people that circumcise themselves. And because at Tefillin, it's like a uniform. Every tribe might wear something, clothing, an outfit, a badge, something that represents how they're different. So what makes all these things uniquely Jewish? So first, let's go to a pasuk from this week's parsha, which in Hasidic circles, the Rebbe made a very big deal about this pasuk. It was like a catchphrase. It represents a theme. It's a word which contains a whole idea. And that is after the Yidden sinned in the Chet HaEgel, and Moshe asks forgiveness for Klal Yisrael, and Hashem forgives. So Moshe says in Pasuk Tezayin, "Ubemei yivoda eifoi ki matzosi chen beinecha, ani v'amecha, hali belechtecha imanu, v'neflino ani v'amcha mikol ha'om asher al pnei ha'adama." Here we have a new concept. I don't think we find this anywhere else. These words, v'neflino, and it's translated as follows: "How then will it be known that I have found favor in your eyes, I and your people? Is it not through you going with us? And I and your people should be set apart, distinct, from all the people who are on the face of the earth." So from Rashi we understand that what it means v'neflinu is that Hashem will rest with us. That it's obvious that Hashem is with the Jewish people. I'm just going to read the Rashi. It follows the Rashi before, which says Halei belechtecha imanu, and it says Shalitisha shchinascha oid alumas ha'olam, that God should not rest within the other nations. And then the pasuk v'neflinu, Rashi translates v'niyah muvdolim, we should be set apart. B'dover hazeh mikol ha'om, we should be set apart in this matter from all other people. And then Rashi says the words v'neflinu comes from the words v'hifla, and he brings an eye from a pasuk that means separate us. And then the next Rashi, Gamas Adover Azer, he repeats that the contrast that Hashem resided with the Jews, and by Bilam, Ein Dvarav Shel Bilam, his words did not come through the real Hashoyas Shechina. So we see from Rashi Rashi interprets that it means Hashem residing, dwelling with us, and therefore makes a practical difference that Bilam was considered a prophet. His prophecy is of a whole lower grade, and our prophecy is the true prophecy. And that the word v'neflinu means to separate, be apart. We're elevated, we're exalted, we're a level higher, a whole different level. Okay, now, by the Rebbe, and maybe I'll finish today also with this more to elaborate, the Rebbe spoke about this many times when he spoke about the chinuch, the Jewish chinuch, but he could take it as not only a message to Jewish people in general, but also Hasidim, the tribe of Hasidim, being the ones that try to be outstanding. V'neflinu means outstanding. When a Chassid walks in the street, we should be able to see he's a Chassid. Take the same idea with a Jew. Just like a Jew, we say, like for example, we spoke about many things that we'll speak about today, we spoke before, that the Jews, they didn't change the names, the language, and the garments. So in other words, there walks a Jew, but it doesn't only mean an external thing, it means at every level. He's more refined, he's a good role model, he's a beacon of light unto the nations. There goes a Jew. So the Rebbe wanted from Chassidim the same thing. There goes a Chassid. If you look at a Chassid who works on himself, he should be a different person. It should be recognizable in his intellect, how he thinks, in his emotions, his midos. He doesn't only have midos, toivos, good midos, he has chassidish midos. It's a whole different level. And the same thing is true concerning his actions, etc. So, and the Rebbe spoke in-house, like I would call it in-house, talking to the Bacharim in Yeshiva, the students, which at that time in their life, they can be completely focused on spirituality, and the Rebbe would demand and speak of this idea. We're better than that. You're better than that. We're higher. There has to be this concept. It's a major theme of v'neflinu. We're constantly working on bettering ourselves, elevating ourselves, demanding more of ourselves. We're stars. We're princes. So therefore it has to be v'neflinu. So that's a general interpretation of the word. But now I'm going to take a Sikha of the Rebbe on the Megillah and use that also over here v'neflinu. And I'll tell you the Chiddush of the Rebbe on the Megillah. Because there's another interesting thing about v'neflinu. The Ramban says that the word v'neflinu is also connected to Pele. Over there it's with a Lamed and an Aleph, but v'neflinu is also connected to miracles. And the simple meaning of the Ramban is that we are connected to a higher level of Hashem, like it says in Chassidus, you're not connected to Shem Havaya, so therefore we have miracles. The whole story of the Exodus of Am Yisrael is miracles. Moshe Rabbeinu was requesting that it should always be obvious that the providence, the survival of the Jews is something which is connected to the supernatural, beyond the laws of nature, as we see. But I'm going to take the Rebbe Sikha and interpret the Ramban a bit differently, connected to the concept of miracles. Getting back to the question that we had before about, so we see the connection of the four things that are called ois, signs that were different, and the word viniflinu. It's one idea. The four things we spoke about are all things which make us outstanding, recognizably different, and the request of Moshe Rabbeinu of Hashem was that that's what should be, viniflinu. We should be recognizably different. And this is what incensed Haman. He couldn't stand when a Jew is proud of his Jewishness and he's advertising it and he lets it in full display and he's not cowering and hiding, etc. But now let's get back to the question that we asked. In all these things, we don't see how those things especially show how we're outstanding. Other nations also have a code they study and they even learn the Torah. Other nations circumcise themselves. Other nations have holidays. And other nations also have a uniform or a medal or... Anyways, so now the Rebbe explains a famous word. That when it comes to the idea when we say Hashem chose us, or when we say, he's going to use the same idea over here when it comes to Niflinu, it's talking about something that externally seems similar. And therefore, even though it seems like it's similar, nevertheless, we say we're different. And that's what the Alter Rebbe explains concerning the Lashon of Bacha Banu, when we say by Birchas Krishma, by Avas Olam, yeah? And it says, there goes on Matan Torah, and the Alter Rebbe explains in chapter 48, what happened to Matan Torah? Hashem didn't choose our neshamas, because when it comes to neshamas, of course we're different. Only a Jew has an nefesh kiss, but a guy does not have a nefesh kiss at all, a special Jewish soul. So when it comes to the Jewish soul, we don't have to say that he chose us. There's no contest, there's no similarity. Similarity, choice, applies when we're talking about two things that are similar, but the chelik alikam in mamish is only be Yisrael. So therefore, according to the Alter Rebbe, which just could be an unbelievable chidush, when we say that Hashem chose us, it's going on the guf. That externally seems like a Goyish body. In other words, if we had a Jewish body here, and we had a body of a non-Jew there, and they're both in a laboratory, and they're subjected to every single experiment, test, known to mankind and to science, we will not find proof of how this body is different than that body. And in that body, the Jewish body, we say Hashem chose. So Bechira goes on the body. Same thing the Rebbe says over here. When it comes to these things, that's exactly the point. That in those areas where it might be similar, we say we're outstanding. That's the Chiddush. So, let's start with Torah. The Rebbe says, when we say in the Pasuk Nei Mitzvah Torah, Oir is Lashon Zachar, but over here we say, La Yudim, Hoysa Oira. Oira is Lashon Nekeva, female. And we learn out from here, the Gemara says, Oira goes on Torah Shebechsav, Oira goes on Torah Shebal Peh. Oira, the male, is more the giver. So when we learn Torah Shebechsav, it's more the mode that this was given to us. The power of the giver. This is what given to us. It's obvious that it comes from God. It's full of Vayemer Hashem, Vayedaber Hashem. It's coming directly from Hashem. But when it comes to Torah Shebal Peh, over here we find a novelty, which we spoke about many times. What's Torah Shebal Peh? Torah Shebal Peh means that Hashem gave us the license. Human intellect could produce godly intellect. He gave us a Torah. But then he gave with the 13 principles, rules, how we could learn more from the Torah Shebechsav and create a Torah Sheba'al Peh. So you might think, since human logic is involved, so maybe you could look at like human logic. Abaye says like this, Rava said like this, and Berel Shmerel says like that. So you could argue. It's just the words of a rabbi, and so on and so forth. And therefore we had the Chmon al-Islam, the Tzedekим, which they came along, they believe in Torah Shebechsav, but they argue with Torah Sheba'al Peh. No, so a Tana said like this, so an Amir said like this. They're humans. So this is what it means over here now, B'chlal. The beauty of Torah Sheba'al Peh is that we say it's the fusion of godly intellect with human intellect. And that's how we see the true infinity of Torah. That no matter how much we draw from it, there's more and more and more. But the main point is, it's considered Kol Mashatal Midvasa Gosel L'Chadish Nema L'Moshe Misinai. It's also from Hashem. Similar to we spoke just recently, a couple of weeks ago, of why by Parshas Ve'ila Mishpatim does it say Afelu Misinai? Because that's talking about the social laws. You might think it's similar to other nations. Over here it's the same thing. In Torah Sheba'al Peh, he might argue, every nation had scholars, every nation had people that pontificated about the laws, judges, and a legislative system, and Supreme Courts. So the same thing over here. There's a Supreme Court and there's a Sanhedrin. What's the difference? The difference is that every word that comes out of the Sanhedrin, for whatever reason, we're not going to explain that now, but Eilu V'Eilu Divrei Elokim Chayim. It's all on the course. It's all the Eibishter himself. So this is what it means when we're asking for signs. What does it mean, the signs? A sign is that we're asking these four things. When we say that they're signs, they're special, they're outstanding, they show how we're different, is because we are saying that Torah Sheba'al Peh is the Eibishter himself. But there's two ways how the Eibishter decides to reveal himself. There's one way, how the Eibishter reveals himself directly. He speaks, and we hear it, possibly directly from Hashem, or through Moshe Rabbeinu, and then Moshe Rabbeinu transcribes Hashem's words. There's another method, where the Eibishter decides that he's going to communicate through a medium. And he's going to allow that medium will be able to use their logic to figure it out. He's going to give a couple of clues that come directly from him, and then you're going to use your logic, and then your logic are going to discover and uncover everything that was there previously in the clue. Al derech. So that's what makes Torah Sheba'al Peh different. We see infinity that it keeps on going on, and even though it keeps on going on, it's being produced by man, it's still mamish Hashem himself. And this is what we ask from Hashem, the beauty of Torah Sheba'al Peh, that human intellect, if we'll be in sync and follow the rules and terms of conditions of the Yud Gimel Midas Shatei Nedesh B'hem, we'll be able to uncover and become united with Hashem himself. That's what it means, Eile Zu Torah. The same thing as Simcha Zeh Yontif, and it's the same, it's similar point. Simcha Zeh Yontif, what does it mean? They have a holiday, we have a holiday. But it's completely different. By them, when they have a holiday, it's dort a dinner mechitza zwischen Simcha and Heilis. There's a thin line between joy and happiness and just being wild. You know? Heilis means where there's irresponsibility. Let's put it this way, just to make a direct contrast. There's New Year's Eve parties, which usually no one wants to discuss the day after what happened by the New Year's party. And then there's our New Year's, Rosh Hashanah. It's a whole different nature. It's a whole different flavor. Here it's about being focused on the spirituality. But wait, there's more. Let's say by Rosh Hashanah we say the Gilu Berada. So it has this opposites, a fusion of opposites. There's Vigilu, there's a joy, but Berada, there's a seriousness attached. Let's go now to Purim. Purim is a holiday that's connected to Mesiras Nefesh. But, and that's the thing, exactly Purim, which we have to become so physical, in contrast to Hanukkah, which is a holiday which the emphasis is more on spiritual, even though the common line by all holidays, except for Yom Kippur, as we'll soon see, and we'll bring it up in a second, all Jewish holidays contain an element of drinking wine, eating meat. But the whole point is, what's the result? What comes out of it? A deeper connection to Hashem. In the end, an enhanced spirituality. But what sort of enhanced spirituality? Which becomes engaged, rebound into the world. We lift up the world, and that's what makes a Jew different. We're walking amongst humans, we're talking like humans, we act like humans, but we're holy. What does it mean, holy? We're not really humans. We're not man trying to escape earth. We're man, a Jew, bringing godliness down into the earth. And that's what it means, Simcha Zeh Yontif. Simcha Zeh Yontif means that we have a Yontif, which is similar to other Goyim. They have a Yontif. Their Yontif leads to abandoning logic, acting foolish, with decadence, debauchery, etc. And Judaism, even if there's drinking, in the end it brings to a reinforced connection to Hashem and a reinvigoration of spirituality and transforming that, directing it in a way of engagement to the world. I hope I was clear before when I said Oira. Sorry for taking a pause. I hope I was clear when I said before Oira, Zutera, that's Lashon Nekeva because it goes in Teresh Shabbat Peh. Teresh Shabbat Peh, the emphasis is not so much on the giver, but more on the recipient. We have to figure it out. Okay. Now let's go to Sosen Zemila. This the Rebbe says, when the other people circumcise themselves, they're not really so happy. The Rambam says that circumcision was connected to diminishing, lessening the lust that could be associated with that part of your body, that organ, the male organ. And the Rambam says that someone who becomes obsessed with certain activities, certain drives, it could be very unhealthy. You could become an addict. So therefore, by circumcising yourself, it's healthier because you'll have a more balanced drive and a more healthy attitude, etc. So other people also know about this, that this could turn into an addiction, and therefore circumcision helps in that area. So the Rebbe says the difference is, by a Yid, Sasain Zemila, even though he knows that it's going to diminish some of his taivas in this world, he's happy, because it means he's going to become more connected to Hashem. By the Goyim, the fact that their taiva is going to be diminished, it's like more like, oh, oy vey, what can I do? I'd really, if I could just, if man knew how to control himself 100% and not be circumcised, so my lust could be heightened and at full intensity, I would be much happier. But what can I do? It's either I'm going to be unhealthy physically, or my lust is going to be more intense. So, therefore, between these two choices, I'd rather be physically more healthy than just giving 1,000% into my lust. So now my lust is only going to be 97%, but my health will be 100%. But it's with the krechts. He's groaning. What can I do? He feels bad about it. But a Yid, when he's doing such a thing, he's going, Sus. That's the pasuk that it says, why Sus and Zemila? Sus, anoichi al imrosecho, kimoitze shalol rav. He's overjoyed by the fact that now he's doing something, which, by the way, even though it causes a bit of pain, he's doing something that's going to make him even more connected to Hashem. That's the point. And it's going to take away a certain level of temptation. So he's happy about that. And the point is that what's amazing is there's another idea connected to Mila also. They made the Mefarshim say, why did David HaMelech say Sosaneichel Imresecha? Is because he realized that's the one mitzvah which is 24/7 at all times, because it's engraved in your body at all times. So that also goes together with this. We're talking about the body again. And the mitzvah of circumcision is the one that permeates the body, becomes more one with the body than any other mitzvah. And that's the joy. You're full of joy because you know that it's 24/7. I have a body on this planet Earth. That body is circumcised. That body is holy. And I'm happy about it. That my physicality, my corporeality, my matter is totally permeated with godliness 24/7. Why and how? Through circumcision. The whole mitzvah is about something happening to the body constantly. So that's another aspect. Again, we're talking about the similarity. Goyim have a body, Jews have a body. In the body of the Jew, there's the mitzvah, which is 24/7. So it's a whole different body. And then comes Vikar Zutfilm. Over here the Rebbe says that the Eibishter could have chosen something different to be our uniform, to be our symbol. But the answer is, he dafka chooses something that comes from the hide of an animal. And he dafka has something which is painted black. So it looks like something which is not expensive. It's not precious. I know Pirat film costs a lot of money. But we're talking about the idea over here, the theme. Other nations, other people, sometimes you have to wear a special ring if you want to be part of this brotherhood. You wear a special ring that has a special insignia. So that ring, a ring, someone's asking, what's a ring? A ring shows on jewelry. Jewelry is a luxury. It's an honor. Or let's say we're talking about a certain badge or a certain medal, a symbol of this tribe, a symbol of this people. Again, it shows on something distinguished. It shows on honor. It shows on glory. Vikar. What does the Eibishter choose for Vikar? Something that originally was an animal. Leather straps comes from animal hide, and so too parchment. So the parchment of tefillin, what makes them special? What makes them special is because it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What makes them special is because it says Kili B'nei Yisrael, B'chayri, whatever. The psukim over there, they're in the 4 parshas that talk about how the Yidden are special. So in other words, what do the tefillin represent? What's the glory of the Yidden? What's in their physical symbol? Not how they externally represent something of sophistication or class or royalty. On the contrary, something that represents animal, something that represents black. So this gives us 2 messages. Number 1, how we connected to the Eibishter, like we spoke last week, or 2 weeks ago, I forgot, the idea of behemoth yisimach. We could take physicality, something which is animalistic, and realize we're dealing with something which is totally beyond. We don't take God with our superior mind. We take God by just being simple. And also that looking at the physical, we're not giving any value or precedence to physical beauty. We're giving value and precedence to the tefillin. What's our glory? That we're wearing a physical thing, which in that physical thing is inscribed Hashem Echad. Or how Yidden are special. In other words, our special connection to Hashem. That's the idea of the Ois. What is our pride? Our connection to Hashem. That's what it's all about. And this is the connection of an Neflinu. And this is the connection of Purim. And now I want to go back to the Ramban. Same idea with the Ramban. When the Ramban says that the word of an Neflinu is miracles, it could be Ulei Yeshleim. The main chiddush is miracles that happen in nature. And that's the whole beauty. That's what makes Purim outstanding amongst miracles. That it wasn't a miracle that had to defy the laws of nature. It was a miracle that was in nature. And still here we have a situation. Here's Tom, Dick, and Harry looking at the sun going up and the sun going down every day, and they're calling it nature. And here's a Jew, Avram Yitzchak Yankov, looking at the sun going up and going down every single day. And what does he see? Elokos. Adi Shem Hu Elikim. And this is the beauty of the story of Purim. That the Ashgacha Pratis, the divine providence, we're going to call it coincidences, but Chas v'Shalom, we don't believe in coincidences. But since it happens so many things, that every single detail followed every single detail in sequence, sequential order, and if even one detail would have been pulled, then the whole miracle wouldn't even happen. If anything would have been out of place. And over here, how we saw sequentially, every single detail followed in perfect unison, and it all worked together to create a perfect tapestry. And that was the miracle. Here he killed his wife for the minister, then he kills the minister for his wife. And there was Achashverosh and his Biksham B'Sheres. And he chose Esther from all the contestants, the candidates, etc., 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 as explained in all the Mefarshim. So the lesson that we have to take for it is, first of all, we have to take from this on a practical level. We have to always remember this. I find that today, I don't find enough people that kochen sich. There's a Jewish perspective, there's a Torah perspective, and there's a secular perspective. Remember that. V'neflino. Yeah, these are the books that talk about education, and these are the books that talk about education, not spirituality. These are the books that talk about marriage, and these are the books that talk about marriage. Is this book talking about marriage the Torah book that talks about marriage? Or is it some other credentials that have nothing to do with us? So v'neflino, like we said before, we have to work on our v'neflino. On every single level, we should be totally permeated that Judaism resonates in our physical, in our minds and hearts, and in our way of life. So we have to work more and more and more on this v'neflino, to be distinguished, to be outstanding, and projected in our physical life more and more. And the Eibusher will fulfill his part of it, to make more and more v'neflino, that even in simple day-to-day life, wondrous miracles are happening to you every single day. They don't realize that 500 people went for a job interview, and you're one of the 500. He chose you. He can't even say why, but he just felt some special vibe about you. Your neshama came through your body. So it's natural. He had to choose one person, but he chose you, just like by Esther. Achashverosh chose her, and so on and so forth. You're going to buy the lottery ticket, and you're going to win. That's a miracle in nature. Someone has to win. It could be Tom, Dick, and Harry, or it could be Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and so on and so forth. Hashem should continue making miracles, and the miracles in nature also, like the miracle of Purim, until we'll come to the ultimate miracle of Arenu Neflois, Kimitzeischa Meretz Mitzrayim, and we should have the Gula Mitzvah Shleimo take miyad mamish, posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.